I need a link.
We're live, and I'm going to send you one just a second.
Yeah, we don't get steak too much here because it's so expensive. Oh my god, it's like $12 a pound.
Yeah, I'm sure we probably paid close to that here.
I kind of got spoiled back in PA where I can get meat really cheap.
Let's see here.
I got spoiled back in PA where I can get meat.
Got an echo. There we go. And the private shot. There we go. Now I got shared on the Corrality official too.
I love having multiple screens.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right, regain focus. So I've done the wiring to the bottom there. We want to finish off that wiring and get back and do the other thing first. We'll go back. Finish the wiring while I'm here, I guess.
Hey, 3DPV.
He's got us on speed dial.
He's a happy victim.
Yep. That is over the hills and through the woods. So I guess we should do an intro to the new segment or whatever. We're back again. Look at dinner. We took a break. Got Chris Maurice here with us. We are building 3 Under 5 Pros for my friend/client Matt, and we are currently at reversing the wiring on the Bondtech extruders, and I sort of am going to go through some of the wiring on this one before I put it down and grab the last one to do. So, biggest thing I like to do is make sure that the wires are not crossed and they're not going to get caught up in stuff when they
How do I get into that?
turn operation.
You don't.
Oh, it's a private chat.
It's his stream.
Oh, okay.
And stop. Excuse me. There we go. I end up with most everything on the main trunk of this one. For the most part.
Hey, Matt. What are you doing, you crazy cat? Hi.
So I don't know if Matt's going to join us, but I sent him a link. I think he has younger kids that he had to get to bed, so he may not be able to talk and keep them up.
That's correct, Derek.
If he chooses to come in, he can come in and join us all.
This way he doesn't have to putz with the firmware.
Doing the tedious stuff. That reminds me, I've got some filament reviews that I need to do pretty soon. I've been putting off. Okay, so what do we got left? We've got the x-axis. It comes up here. No. No. Not always the easiest thing to do, sitting on your ass. Huh? So, on the upper carriage here, Reality put a extra hole right there for a zip tie to anchor these wires. So you got some place to put them.
I've been asking them to do that for a while. I wish they would do it to all their printers.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So I always pull a little extra slack behind where the pinning point is, just because.
Doesn't yank the plug.
Yeah. And just secure enough to hold the wires. You don't got to kill it.
Suffocate it. Strangle it.
All right. So this is where it gets interesting with the maintenance of this X wire. So you just leave it here, and then you try and put the battery tractor over there. There's no tension back against it or whatever, so will seem a little counterintuitive, but I usually bring it over and I'll have a single wrap around here, and that way that there'll be tension across this wire, but it tends it very well. So that's what we're going to eventually do here in a minute. But then we got to hook up the Y. The Y is going to come around and up and over through the woods.
Yeah, I usually just pin it to the spool holder so it can't jam up in the spool holder. And then that little bit of slack is usually fine.
Yep. And I just got an affinity, and the battery tractors come in packs of 3, so put them to work. Right. Okay, here. Nope. Thinking backwards there. All right. This is where I wish that sometimes that I'd stock up on the really long zip ties, because we're going to have to do a double zip tie.
Yeah, it's annoying. But it works.
Sort of works out on big squares, but you can sort of park each corner of the zip tie in a corner. I already drawing down zip ties so they hit in the corners of the extrude. All right. Okay, so those are up there.
Alan, I think the Ender 5 Pro. I think the Ender 5 in general is better. It's got a self-aligning frame structure for the most part. It's more stable.
Yep.
Matter of fact, the only downside to the Ender 5 is the bed can bounce a little bit, but that's only if you have it on an unstable surface.
Yeah, we haven't got to that part yet, but I also have the printed
Stiffener
support arms to put on these things.
Put it this way, I print with a 0.0 or 0.2 millimeter nozzle at 0.04 layer height on my Ender 5, and it works great. So that says a lot. that's literally default resin settings on an FDM, and it prints great.
I can do the same thing on my Ender 5s. I do this one print. It's I'll grab it really quick. It's easy to grab. I do this folding. It's a little, looks like a little credit card, but it folds out and becomes a cell phone stand.
Ah, cool.
And this one, you can actually do it at like 0.08 and it'll do okay, but it does really good when you do it at 0.04. And it has the print in place hinges and stuff, but you know you got your stuff built good when you can pull those off without having everything bonded to itself.
Are they hinges or living hinges?
They're print in place hinges, so it's got.
Are they actual separate parts printed in place, or are they living hinges? Meaning, are you bending the material to make the hinge?
Print in place.
This is a hinge.
Yeah.
This is a living hinge.
Hinge.
Okay. Cool.
You can find them on Thingiverse, obviously, or whatever.
Very cool.
Fun little print, and they're nice. Women can put them in their little hand purses or whatever, and you can put it in your wallet or your pocket.
Yeah, if you were at the last Murph and you saw those little tiny mini Joels and mini Wexters I had printed out, I printed those like I think 60 of them at a time. So not only was I doing a 0.2 millimeter nozzle with a 0.04 layer height, but I was doing it over the entire print surface of the bed. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yep.
You got to really nail that bed leveling because, my first layer is 0.1 millimeter because you ain't getting a 0.04 first layer. You're just not getting that.
No, that's always going to be thicker. That was one of the things where you and I talked about. We need to both work into our educational series is setting up your first layer height and how it shouldn't change as much as everything else does in your slicing. And also how it isn't zero. That really screws with people.
Well, your first layer it should be true zero plus your offset. And whatever offset you choose based on what you're printing. For me, it's different. A lot of the times, once I get that printer tuned for 0.2 millimeter layers, if I decide to print something at 0.12 or 0.08, I'll still leave my first layer 0.2. This way, I don't have to change anything.
Yep. So here we're getting ready to set up the badge retractor program. I originally stole this from you. I know you know that.
Yeah. For the printers that are bigger than a CR10, you end up having a problem with the harness that goes across the Bowden tube drooping too low, and it can actually snag the print even. So I grabbed these badge retractors from Dollar Tree, and I 3D designed a little tiny clip that goes up on top of the frame, and you just hook it back. The badge retractor just snaps into place, and you just clip it around your wires, and it holds your wires up. It keeps them from drooping down too low. If you have a Chiron, an S4, or an S5, you'll find that very handy.
Yep. So you can see here the badge retractor is putting tension on it, so as it moves back and forth, the wire just stays tensioned or whatever.
It tends to keep the wire on a fixed plane because the wire is attached by 3 points. Those 3 points form a plane. Now you don't have to worry about your wire drifting back and forth on a perpendicular axis, which is what can get you into trouble and start snagging on things.
I just realized I put that too deep into that one. I didn't give it enough room to travel to full travel, so I got to reset here. That's what happens when you do it as a live stream and aren't as focused. So those can still all go where they belong. All right.
If you decide to play with a 0.2 millimeter nozzle, do not use any filament that has any kind of filler in it. That means no glitter.
So, can you put my stick away?
Yeah.
Because you will clog the hell out of that nozzle, and fast. The only glitter filament that I've used that actually manages to extrude from a 0.2 millimeter nozzle somewhat reliably is Prusament. The mica powder they use is fine enough that it can usually flow through.
Oh, I'm just remembering now that I got a filament sensor that I need to add in at some point. Oh, well, I might have to clip back a couple of zip ties. Don't worry about that when I get there. Okay, so most of that wiring's done on that. You can go. So this was the addition to your badge retractor program that I did. Is these arms?
The arms. Yeah.
You run the badge retractor off of there, and the newest ones, they just clip into the
Rail.
into the extrusion. I have another version that it sort of cam locks on that's stronger when needed.
I just run a piece of filament through the loom.
Yeah, I really like to keep my PTFE not constrained on any of my printers. So this allows the PTFE to run its course. This is supported here to do its thing, and it's pretty low maintenance. Okay, so let's move this guy off. So that's blue. We got them in colors. I don't know if you picked up on that. We have black, blue, and orange.
Orange is the best, of course.
Of course.
Anybody who questions that is dinner.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see that table over there, but I've got the full accoutrement of stuff to put on them that's all color coded. So we got the Petswing bullseyes. They have my custom base that I'm probably going to release as soon as I get permission from Mr. Petzel himself. And then support arms, the covers for the back of the things, all the printed mods, even the pillar brace full rolls. You should be in like Flynn once he gets his farm going. All right,
these are my favorite new scratchers.
Yeah, you were sort of busy earlier today when that other guy and I were talking about who's going to come up with the longest print to do off of that CR30 once we have them.
I saw that unlimited. Who has the most filament?
Who can support it the longest without busting it off at the printer, right?
If I actually wanted to do that, I'd win. I got 700. I got 700 kilograms of filament. I got over an acre.
You run out of linear space pretty quick, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you get that long, you get pretty flexible. I'll just wrap it around the property.
You set it up right. Yeah. I'm sure that some people will have some fun setting new Guinness records for the longest 3D print.
I'm just pissed off because the whole reason I want a belt printer was because of Polyalchemy, Night Sky, and Nightshade. And now they're out of business.
Oh, that's not cool.
That sucks. I want to make crown molding for the house in Night Sky. See, the problem is
every time I think about that in the sea, I'm like, people ask me, what are you going to do? What can you do with it? I'm like, well, you can make crown molding.
Yeah, you can make really nice crown molding.
Design you want.
Put a 1.2 millimeter nozzle,
or skulls, or
put a 1.2 millimeter nozzle on there, and it'll be strong crown molding too. But the nice thing about the Z printer though is that you can make one continuous. If you need an 11-foot piece, you can make an 11-foot piece. So you don't have any seams, and by not having any seams, you get the beauty of that silk filament without any imperfections. You just do it in vase mode. So you can make some really beautiful crown molding with a belt printer.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make it on a regular printer, but when you join them all together, you're going to have those ugly seams, and they're going to stand out.
I'm not going to zoom in on it, but you don't have to do a whole lot for the wire restraint on these beds. There's an anchor point.
Yep.
Or like on the other spot, just bring it back to it. pin it
Zip
there
that down.
so that it's not constantly bending the wires right as they enter the tinned area. Would be fine.
Because it's not the wires bending that's the problem for people listening.
Yep.
It's not the wire bending that's the problem. It's the solder joint being tweaked.
Yep.
I mean, you bend a wire enough, it'll eventually break, but that's going to take a lot longer than tweaking that solder joint.
Yep. Okay, so that's there. This is E, so we got to flip E again. Gotta remember my color convention from before we took our break.
This Klein bottle reminds me of the noisy cricket. It just seems like a noisy cricket kind of thing.
That's something I haven't printed. I've never printed the noisy cricket.
Neither have I. I should print one.
I'm sure somebody's got an STL for it somewhere.
Oh yeah, on Thingiverse.
Need to find somebody who's got a really nice chrome-looking filament to do it.
I'll print one this big and call it Noisy Cricket's Big Brother.
Well, I appreciate you coming out to hang with me because it can get a little boring doing this stuff without somebody to chit chat with.
Happy victims.
Yep. Let's see, I have red on the outside of the other side. I'm trying to make them all the same so that there's uniformity to it. That's what I'd want. They were all staying here. Now I'm marking all 4 wires. If you really get down to brass tacks, because one of them has a data tag on it, and one of them can be black, you could actually get away with only doing 2 colors. But I'm sort of going over the top here. And I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments, oh, you could have done it with less tape. You want to get criticized, put it online. Everybody will come and let you know what you did wrong, right?
Well, if you ever want to get the answer to a question, the best way to do it is to intentionally put up the wrong answer, proclaim it as the right answer. 100 people will sign in to correct you.
Yep.
Boy, everybody's complaining about how TikTok is a spy app for the Chinese government. And I'm like,
I don't even participate in it.
It's like, I ask myself this, why would I give a fuck? What is the Chinese government going to do to me from 20,000 miles away?
As long as they're not getting into my bank account, I don't really care.
Exactly. I was like, you think the Chinese government could be spying on every aspect of my life with that app, and I won't care. Because if you think that's more dangerous than Google that exists in this country with you, you're crazy.
Yeah.
You would be shocked what Google and Apple know about you. Everywhere you go, everything you do, and the amount of information you could put together with that data set. Whoo! Because remember, they got your Gmail, they got everything.
Well, they're doing voice recognition while you're not even online talking to people to try and figure out what the hell they're going to sell you next.
Yep. It's crazy. I mean, it's just, you want to see, people say, well, Facebook's spying on you. No, it's not Facebook. It's just the services Facebook is using. I run Facebook in a black hole. Okay, I box Facebook in a box because I don't trust Facebook. And yet I go look up stuff on Google, and then I come back to Facebook, and there's ads for what I was looking up. I mean, that shit's all integrated, and it's not the information gathering that's the issue. That's irrelevant. They have access to your email, they have access to your location, they have access to your travels. What's powerful is information integration.
Yep.
When Google can begin to, and Apple and Facebook, when they can begin to piece together all that information and start inferring private data from that information.
Yep.
Like
all it takes is a good algorithm and a little bit of a database to generate it from.
Once you have enough information in that database, you can begin to make guesses and deductions from that data that are scary accurate.
And very, very profitable.
Now, that's not necessarily malicious.
It's good for me because I literally do not ever make my decisions based on an ad that's presented in front of me.
That's not the point, though.
But see, I'm not the demographic they're making their money off of.
Well, see, I don't care even. That doesn't even matter. I don't care what data Apple and Google has because their only objective is to make money. So their only concern is what can they sell me. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not dangerous. What's dangerous is once they have all this information and then the government signs off on a law mandating that they can dip their fingers into it. That's when it gets dangerous.
They're already doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They got those big ass data centers collecting all that shit.
That's when things get real dangerous.
Yeah, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but people think
think
their private communications just go away and die in cyberspace. I got news for you. It's recorded somewhere.
That's not conspiracy theory. That's not what conspiracy theory is.
Yeah.
That's just recognition of obvious data that's in front of your face.
Yep.
It's when people don't see it, they call it a conspiracy. And that's not what a conspiracy is.
Yep.
A conspiracy is gas companies all colluding to make sure gas is about the same price at every station. That's a conspiracy.
Yeah. That actually is more like collusion, but still.
Well, that's what a conspiracy is.
They do conspire as well.
Conspiracy is collusion in secret.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what conspiracy is.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to have a nefarious purpose, but it's usually inferred a nefarious purpose.
I wouldn't consider it a positive adjective or whatever they call it.
Well, that's where the brainwashing and the propaganda come into play. Is that we have learned to start brainwashing people into using certain terms in a derogatory manner in order to discredit any movement against that nefarious group.
Of course.
So that's why we use the term conspiracy theorist as the F word. We use it as a derogatory term. Mm-hmm. So whenever a certain group starts to dig into something that the established power doesn't want them to dig into, they simply mark them as conspiracy theorists. And now nobody believes them and everybody discredits them and dismisses them.
Yep. Social engineering 101.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Social engineering on a scale no one has ever envisioned.
I'm glad that they put disconnects on these because it gives you a chance. If you get something in the order you don't want on your wiring, take the minute to carefully disconnect the things and get everything laying the way you want it to.
Yeah, I hate when they're all hardwired.
Once you put it there, it's done. You're not going to have to address it again. If you don't do it now, it ain't going to get later. At least that's how I am. Once it's set up, it's sort of there unless something really drives me to mess with it.
Just remember, come election time, vote yum yum, ETP.
That one.
I tell people, imagine a town hall meeting where the PR rep comes up to the politician and says, "Sir, 70% of the room has their knives and forks out. I quit. Good luck." Oh, that'd be great.
Your name would be terrified. Like, what's going to happen next?
Your dinner is what's going to happen next. And it wouldn't be pandemonium. It wouldn't be like the purge. Believe it or not, there'd be very little cannibalism going on, because you'd only have to eat 4 or 5 major figureheads for everybody else to start stepping in line real quick.
Oh my God.
Yeah, when you're setting up your Z wire,
Only you would say that, yum yum over
you have to
there.
pull it back more on the split on the loom. You have enough room to get there.
I would
Enough
say
slack?
that's for crazy
Yeah.
lamp lady. That's who I protest for.
Don't do like I did and forget to put the one in the zip tie that I have to redo again.
Did you hear me, Chris? My protest would be crazy lamp lady.
Hello, Ohio Wolverine. There's my pen,
Or was it?
hiding next to the printer.
How long you been looking for that pen?
A while.
Pay attention where you're
You're trying to out you?
Then you would find it, yum yum.
Michelle. Yeah, I got super excited. I went to a Ross one day with Michelle and I. We went to a Ross in town in Albuquerque, and they had a giant bag of RBO fluorescent burn your freaking eyeballs out orange zip ties. You bet your butt I bought that freaking bag.
I had a bag of pastels with orange in it for quite a while, and I was actually rather disappointed when I finished off the orange in it.
Oh, these are bright orange. They're like in your face orange. That's the right kind of orange.
So we're like, hey, check this out.
Hey, you still got my pen.
There's 3D print in orange.
There you go.
I figured it was appropriate that since you gave me a 3D printing pen, that it should be in my print area, right?
I got a great deal on those. I think I got them for like 19 cents a piece or 39 cents a piece. Yeah. It's 39 cents each. Yeah, I like it. I got them in green, pink, and orange. Sadly, they were out of blue.
I'm going to put all those wire markers up, and then I'll need it again in 5 minutes, but whatever. Put up for now. So we're almost done zip tying this guy up, and then we can move on to the next step. We might have to hit that danger zone where we update firmware while the host computer for the stream is doing a stream, and that it'll be fine. So you don't want that one in there. Do you want that one in there? How did that one go across there?
I gotta dig out my S5 because I wanna print that fart gun. You know, Gru from Minions.
Yeah.
He has that big fart gun.
Uh-huh.
I want to make a gigantic one with like a 100-watt speaker inside. Just because I think it'd be funny as hell.
Yep. Some things you got to do just because you can.
Yep. I want it so loud that if you're at the other end of a football field, you turn around and go, "What the hell was that?"
I think we got all the appropriate layers together there.
Yeah, I don't even bother printing phone holders though, because you can get these really nice ones at Dollar Tree for $1. Yeah. And why print? Why print it when you can just buy it? You know. But I love that little credit card one you got. That's pretty slick.
Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of plastic either.
No, not that thin. Hey, I got my latest steelbook in. Howl's Moving Castle.
I would have to say that I have not been able to read in a long time.
Oh no, these are movies.
Oh, okay.
You ever see the Hayao Miyazaki movies? Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle.
I am a nerd that doesn't participate in certain aspects of being a nerd.
Well, he makes animated movies that are really adult movies, but they're animated.
Yeah.
And they're just fantastic. He's one of those rare geniuses that just his content just blows you away.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite's My Neighbor Totoro. I want a cat bus so bad. God, I want a cat bus so bad.
Start drafting it.
No, it's basically a cat that's a bus.
Yeah.
So it's a living cat bus. And it's just freaking epic. I'll show you. Cat bus. So there's cat bus.
I can see 3D printing the frame, and then you can use textiles to finish it up.
He's great, though.
All right, I guess we're going to go to doing the back screen covers. I gotta dump out. I printed the hot end fix and a bunch of other parts, and they're sitting in the cover, so they're just gonna get dumped out for the moment.
Hey, Ben.
And I'm pretty sure I printed the right ones that use the stock screws or whatever. I didn't do the buzzer delete model or whatever.
Just a piece of scotch tape over it, dims it down so you can barely hear it.
Yep. Or turn the power off and run a screw through it.
I like the scotch tape because then you can always undo it.
Yeah. I personally don't even care about it. I just leave it on. Got just a little bit of muck in there. I will tell you what, that TH3D textured bed.
Uh-huh.
I love that surface. It is a little on the heavy side, but I don't know. It's different, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. They're all done on different surfaces.
I love doing a large model on like a glass or PEI, and then you split it in half so both sides can have that super glossy finish.
Uh-huh.
That's nice. I did the Vault Boy coin.
Do you have any polypropylene sheets?
No, I don't.
I don't know why, but Creality sent me one, and it works good. Just there's only certain times that I use it. When I do use it, it gives you that mirror glass finish. If you ever get a polypropylene, the only thing you got to know for sure about it is it's a minimum of 70 degrees, no less.
That's the temperature you print with? Print at 70 degrees?
Most of the other surfaces I use at 60, but I know you like to use the Built-Tack and just turn the heat off. And when I use Built-Tack, I guess I could, but I don't. Never. Too lazy to mess with it. I figured it out one time, and I think to run one printer nonstop for a month, which I Other than when I was doing the ear savers, I wasn't. I think it cost me at my local utility rates. It cost me $2.70 a month with the full operating temperature for a month solid. So
Yeah, that's the
not
one thing that
good.
sucks here, man. 18.4 cents a kilowatt. Ow.
Yeah,
That is painful.
yeah. You guys used to have supplemental coal, I think, and Obama took care of that. The crazy stuff. The crazy thing about they killed the coal, right? Because coal makes carbon dioxide, right? So now that we're no longer doing coal fire plants here in the U.S., what do we
There,
do
Ben
with
Brady.
coal? There you go.
That's the canopies on the house now. That front one's 500 square feet, and the back one's 400 square feet. Come on, scoot over. There it goes. The shade is absolutely wonderful.
So now they're trucking the coal all the way across the country to the West Coast to be put on a ship to send to China so they can burn it in their
Oh, jeez.
their less controlled coal fire plants than what we have. Our coal fire stuff, you could literally breathe the exhaust from it because it was filtered so heavily. It was very expensive, but that's where our level of regulation it got.
Yeah.
But, they made us stop, and now we're sending it to somebody who's not going to do any filtering or anything on it.
Just gonna burn the shit out of it.
All right. Well, there's one case down. That wasn't too painful. Yeah.
Oh, it's
Nice.
huge, Ben. The difference is night and day. I mean, it's 95 degrees outside during the daytime. You step underneath the canopy, and it's fine. It's wonderful.
If you have the dry heat with no humidity.
Well, though, I finally figured out how to explain that properly to people now that I understand the actual thermodynamics involved here.
Uh-huh.
What people don't realize that air is actually a pretty good insulator.
Mm-hmm.
So air doesn't transmit heat very well,
Nope.
relative to other things. The reason hot weather feels hot is because of humidity. The moisture in the air is the conductor of the heat.
Right.
If you want to see what I mean, just take some water of any temperature, okay, and dip your
I learned
finger
that
in.
in scuba diving. Water conducts heat 80 times faster than air.
Yes. So dry heat is real. And people say, well, why is it so damn hot then? Because there's two ways you can heat up. You can heat up by conduction. That is your physical contact with the atmosphere. That basically doesn't happen here because the humidity is so low, the atmosphere is a very poor conductor of heat. That's why the temperature drops 30 or 40 degrees as soon as the sun goes down. It's 65 degrees outside right now. It was 98 today. It's 65 now. It's going to go down to like 58.
What people don't realize is in the middle of summer, your daytime heat can hit 115, 120, and your overnight will be down into the 45 because there's nothing holding the heat, no cloud cover or anything like that.
Well, it's not even cloud cover. It's the moisture in the air.
Yeah.
That's why in Florida, you got to run the air conditioner 24/7 and your electric bill is $600 because the mass of humidity in the atmosphere is literally a battery. It's a thermal battery.
Yeah. Don't they run swamp coolers or whatever they call them there?
Not in Florida. The swamp coolers only work where it's dry.
Okay.
You can't use a swamp cooler where it's humid.
Like I said, I'm in a pretty moderate climate, so
yeah,
we have air conditioners that we use like 2 weeks out of the year.
Wow.
We make sure that we have them, but they let during the summer, just if my wife just wants to burn power or whatever, we might run it 3 or 4 weeks out of the year. But it really is only needed for about 2 weeks, maybe.
Well, here you could live without the air conditioner. Like, for example, I don't even turn the air conditioner on until 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
On most days, I don't have to turn it on until 12 or 1. And
that's when your roof starts doing that heat transfer into the structure.
Mm-hmm. But actually, I have very good insulation in my roof. Like, for example, the snow does not melt.
Yeah, that's a good judgment of your heat transfer.
Like, there's no hot spots. The snow just stays.
I was glad to see that you got that guy up there to fix those shingles that we were talking about.
Although I can't find the guy because I think he messed it up a little bit. It looks like a few of them are sagging, like it slid down a little bit. I don't know how that works.
It might just be the lay of the roof causing.
Yeah, the way he had to lay it to make the pattern line up.
They don't sag if he got them nailed.
I didn't think they could. So I figured that
if the roof has a bow in it, unless you really set up for it, it can actually sort of make a smiley face as it goes through the contour, trying to cut your reveal.
Well, it's right
basically,
where the patch
is. A really good roofer will make it so you can't see that, knowing it he's going through a valley. But as long as he makes a peak, that's what matters.
This is where he patched the hole where the swamp cooler was. So it makes sense to be
when you're tying into old shit or whatever, it's just you make it do with what you got.
As long as it's watertight, that's all I care about.
As you saw when I pointed out in that close-up picture you gave me, all the problems in that one area. It was like you were on a time bomb waiting to go off.
Well, that's why I had the swamp core taken down. He patched it. He put underlayment down.
You had weeps were less than 2 inches apart. There's a reason that the industry says to put them 6 inches apart because water can't travel 6 inches horizontally, but it can definitely travel 2 inches. Right.
So somebody did a shitty job on it.
They didn't know what the hell they were doing, is what it was. Yeah.
Or they were just cheaping out.
They really
that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But
I did many roofs when I had my own construction company, and every one of them that I had where there was a customer leak was actually from how they improperly installed it when it was put in. You take the time period 20, 25, 30 years earlier. It was just improper installation. Hey, Matt's here. Let's get him in here. I hope he hasn't been there very long. I didn't see him.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing, Matt? This is
hey,
Chris.
Good. Hey.
We got the back cover on the black now. So
sweet.
We're just sort of plugging along here.
All right. Hopefully this works. I had to use my phone. I have like my laptop. I haven't had to set this up to actually stream anything basically ever. So I tried and it failed.
StreamYard's pretty good. As long as you don't totally lose connection, you'll be fine.
Cool.
Cell phones are surprisingly effective for streaming because it's an all-in-one supercomputer. It has everything it needs built in.
I'm actually hearing Matt talk because we did almost all of our communications on digital.
My first 200 videos for my channel were done with this, with a cell phone on a tripod. As long as you get a flagship phone, the cameras are fantastic. The noise reduction is fantastic.
I know. I was hoping I could figure it out. I need to figure it out. I need to sit down and do it before I'm like trying to go live so that I could like figure out how to share my screen and stuff. Because I was like, well, maybe I could show them what I'm trying to build with these things. But
there's an easy workaround for sharing your screen.
That's true.
I will forewarn you
do that.
The protection in the space that is 3D printing, knowing what product you're working on, I would wait a little while till you got more of them in the market before you share those with the public.
Yeah, that's fair. I know.
I think it's an awesome idea, and I think it's a great thing you're doing. But I would be very protective of it at the moment.
Yeah, I've had quite a few people that are already asking for the model. It's just a battery adapter that is specifically for a little electric bike that my kids use, and. The company specifically doesn't want you to use not their branded battery, and all their batteries are basically a rebranded DeWalt 20 volt or Milwaukee 20 volt pack, right? Mm-hmm. But they charge $170 for their battery pack, and I can.
That's why I don't want you to use it.
Exactly. So I've already got a garage full of packs of my DeWalt system, and then. After I posted, a lot of people, like you guys were talking earlier about the Milwaukee system.
Yes.
So I'm in the middle of making a Milwaukee setup right now. Sorry, my camera's sideways. I keep trying to get the right spot. But then, so the one thing I keep running into now, and I've spent a whole bunch of time redesigning, is the low voltage cutoff for these battery packs. It seems to be that the low voltage cutoff circuit is built into the drill or into the hardware, not into the battery pack.
Oh.
And
you're able to over discharge the batteries if you're not careful.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out. I haven't been able to get confirmation that the bike doesn't have that built in, and I tried to sneakily ask the company,
Yeah.
but they just basically they caught on really quick and said we don't recommend that you use anybody else's batteries because ours have more protections than than the other companies, etc.
Yeah.
So, so I literally went out and I threw a DeWalt one on and just duct taped the throttle down and let it run out. And then check the voltage, and it shuts off at like 15.5 volts, and the battery's got one, and so it is shutting off before it's over discharging the battery. So I just I don't know how to get 100% confirmation. So I've redesigned this whole thing to build in a little $10 low voltage cutoff circuit. But it adds a whole bunch more time and complexity to the print and assembly time. And so I'd really like to get confirmation that it's not needed, but also
take apart the DeWalt battery.
Well, I did. I guess I don't have enough. I need to do more research because I don't have enough. I've been doing some Google foo, but trying to determine what is the low voltage cutoff circuit on the battery. So I've got a battery I've taken apart. I've found a few websites that have confirmed that the Milwaukee does not have it. It's built into the device. And then I've seen some other, Reddit things that multiple places that have said they build it into the hardware. So into the drill, into the, saw, whatever. Which makes sense. It's their own system, whatever.
You don't have to put it on the battery every time.
Right.
Well, it also makes sense because different devices are going to have a different current draw, which means they're going to have a different cutoff point. So it kind of makes sense to put in the device than the battery, because your circular saw is going to have a different cutoff point than your impact gun.
Right.
Because they have a different power load.
Right. So my hunch is that the bike also has it in there for their battery. But
that's easy to test. That's easy to check. Well, take apart one of their batteries. If one of their batteries doesn't have a voltage cutoff circuit, then it's in the bike.
Well, so then what I haven't figured out is, like, I've pulled apart the battery. I pulled their battery apart, and I'm not quite sure how to identify what the low voltage circuit is. Because theirs is it's a series of resistors, right, and things. Whereas like the board that I have has a little has a little digital output screen on it that gives you the actual voltage reading of whatever you're hooking it up to. So it looks a lot different. And if I was to go remember my circuits from college from 15, 16 years ago, I could probably figure that out. But I haven't gone and done that yet.
Well, something else you could do. I can't guarantee he'll reply, but there's a guy in the UK, the Isle of Man, who has a YouTube channel, and he knows a lot about circuits. He looks up actual chip numbers, and he's an electrical engineer. He's bigclive.com.
Big Clive. Okay, I'm writing this down.
So if you could take some detailed close-up pictures of all the circuit boards, he might be able to help you diagnose what's there. Like I said, I can't guarantee he will. I don't know him personally, but he's a good guy, and he might be able to help you with that.
You got your color-coded retention clips for the PTFE.
Oh, nice. I want to follow and zoom in on what I'm seeing here, but your screen that I'm watching is about 1 inch tall by 3/4 of an inch wide.
You'll get a sim on there in your shop, but everything's all color-coded and printed up nice and whatever. Okay, so we got that on. You know what? I'm going to do the eccentrics on that because I keep not doing it, and I'm going to do it now.
Well, I'm going to keep clicking here while you guys are.
And proprietary or not, it does make sense for them to not want to support third-party batteries.
Oh, of course.
Because they don't want to have to do a warranty claim if you fry it.
Yeah. So here's the deal. So here's the thing with this bike. It's called a Stacyc, STACYC. You can look it up. They're awesome. They're meant for getting little kids as a transition from into a little 50cc dirt bike. Okay. And we found them because my son got a little dirt bike from his grandpa. Kind of got us into it. Yeah. Well, it's a balance bike that's got a motor on it.
Yeah.
And a throttle. Yeah. And so it's awesome because it's this awesome entry level kind of thing. And rather than being on a bigger motor, right, that's a heavier motorcycle, it lets them ride it like a bike, you know. And so we had gotten a motorcycle for my son who has some sensory stuff, and so it was just a bit too much, you know, like he liked it, but it was just a lot going on, right? And so. And then we got one for my daughter who's 5. And last summer she decides to, as she was learning, run it into a trampoline. And so we were like, okay, this is definitely too soon. You know, like, okay, we're not going to injure our kid. And then I found these things, and it's the perfect in between because they've been riding bikes since they were 2, you know, and striders, you know, balanced bikes. And it's this awesome in between of teaching them how to use a throttle and balance, and it still feels like their bike. They can kick it around like a strider, but the batteries are notoriously crappy. They blow through them in 20 minutes, and then if you buy their interface, it's $170 for a battery. And so, I mean, it's just crazy. And I understand. I honestly understand if their batteries were priced as the same as a DeWalt or Milwaukee, or you could find one, I wouldn't hassle with it, right?
Well,
maybe I still would.
Those
but
batteries first run cost, you're what, $80 plus a battery, depending on where you're buying it.
yeah, and you know, I found like eBay deals. So like the last one I bought was $120 for a 2-pack of the 5 amp hour batteries, which is like, you know, $65-70, pretty good deal. But even if you pay retail, yeah, you're $90 or something, but it's still like half, you know, of theirs. So anyway, if you look at YouTube, there's one guy that basically took a 18-volt converter, right? So, you know, they have like the old 18-volt style DeWalts, and they convert it to the new one. He used that as the receiver, and then, like, you know, hacked and glued and cut the bike up and put that on as the interface on the bike. And it's just wired positive, negative. Which I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, if he's had no problems doing it that way, that tells me that the bike electronics have a built-in low voltage, right? Because he's just straight up wired in the positive to positive to this interface. But it, you know, definitely voids the warranty and all that stuff because it hacks it off. And this technically voids the warranty.
If you adapt it to a third-party battery, that does not void the warranty. The Magnus Act makes it illegal to void your warranty for using a third-party component unless they can show the third-party component is likely to have caused the warranty claim. Now, good luck enforcing that, but technically, it's illegal to void a warranty. They did this to stop car manufacturers from making you buy, like Ford making you buy a Ford alternator and a Ford spark plug.
Yeah, right.
You know, Ford gas cap, or we void your warranty. They said, no, that's illegal. If a third party can make a compatible part, that's legal, and you can't void someone's warranty because of it unless you can show that the problem was caused by the third party part. So if you put a Danco alternator in your car and that alternator fails and causes a problem with your car, then they can say, okay, we're not covering this because that alternator caused it. But if your fuel tank blows up, they can't void your warranty because you put a third-party alternator in there.
An alternator on it. Yeah, exactly.
Technically, the same thing applies to that.
That's interesting. Yeah. So what I did is I took their battery and I sat around for hours with calipers and replicated, you know, the top of their battery. Figured out that, you know, the clips to go inside of it, built it up, and, you know, and then designed it around 3D printing. So this is another thing. So I'm a mechanical engineer by day, but most of my stuff is all, you know, we do metal and titanium aircraft stuff. And having this 3D printer at home, it's really fun to design specifically for 3D manufacturing because you can do whatever you want. You know, like you're not limited by cutter size and radius and, you know, all that stuff. So it's been kind of wild because it just, you basically throw all the stuff that's a pain out the window, and not entirely. You have a new set, but it's like, so, you know, half of the model, you know, when it's printed vertically, like this, vertically instead of this way, you know, half the model has 45-degree chamfers on it so that I don't have to put supports. You know, I've like strategically put overhangs and all these things in here to basically try to kill as many supports as I can.
See, I still have some. You're doing something a lot of designers don't do. And I help some of them do this because I'm bad at designing, but I'm good at understanding 3D printing. You understand the 3D printing and how to design the part within limitations of 3D printing. That's huge.
Yes, I mean, so much of what I do in my day job is that, right? Is okay, how are we building this part? And then I work with that company, or if it's, you know, it's a child company of my main company, and we talk to the manufacturing engineers and we say, okay, you know, so much of the part ends up changing in fit, form, or function based on how we're manufacturing it, right? So that's kind of at the forefront of my head all the time. And then when I have this system, and it's funny because, you know, I bought a micro 3D printer, the M3D, the little tiny one when it first came out, 6-7 years ago, and it sucked. You know, I mean, it barely printed anything. I made some cookie cutters, but I remember when I got it on it was a Kickstarter. I was like, holy crap, a 3D printer at home? Like, I can do this from home? Like, you know, as an engineer, you're like, this is like the beginning of Iron Man, you know, like this is happening. And then it's funny is that I got so fed up with it not working, and like I just didn't have time. We started having kiddos, and so I kind of just you know, it was off my radar. And then about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I think it was, I started looking up into it again, and then I started learning about the Ender machines. Picked up an Ender 3, and I was like just blown away at what I could build
with a $200 freaking machine.
Yeah, you know, I've probably got double that into mine now or more, because I fell into the trap of like, oh, I need to upgrade to make it better, and then I've probably created more problems than I have fixed.
When we were speccing this out, he kept asking, "Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that?" And I was like, "Well, no, we're not going to do that. You don't need to do that."
Even if you tripled the cost of the machine, 10 years ago, that machine would have cost you $5,000.
Exactly. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. And I work with we do a lot of big like stereolith and other 3D print for prototyping at work, but like full size, pretty big parts. And I don't have any really exposure to it. It's more like I send the parts over to our department, and then they do it, and then we'll get it when we come do this, you know, we'll do a group meeting, or, you know, a group, what you call it. My brain isn't firing, but, you know, where we do a workshop, right? And so they'll have parts, and we'll practice putting them together and all that. And I'm always like, man, this is the coolest. And then about 4 years ago, I think it might have been Stratasys, one of the companies, I don't remember who it was, wanted us to demo one. So they came and they put like 2 of them in each floor of the building before we went remote. I've been remote now for 3 years, but and we were able to start just using it like daily. And it kind of like totally shifted our minds in how we did it. I do a lot of mechanism design and aircraft wing stuff, and all of a sudden I've got like a full-size print of this mechanism on my desk.
Literally prototype manufacturer right on your desk.
There's going to be a
Did you see what he got?
Manufacturing section that's going to be designed for 3D printed manufacturing. It's coming.
Oh,
Did you see what he has?
Well, I heard him say he got one for like $300 or something, and I'm wanting to know what it is.
A Stratasys machine.
I guess since Chris brought it up, we'll turn it around if I can manipulate my camera well enough.
I would kill to have that.
I'm gonna have to. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's what they have in our place.
Isn't that great? That was probably $50,000 when it was new. $100,000.
$300 in scrap. But it actually works. I got to set up a Windows NT unit to drive it though, because it's a 20-year-old printer, so the software is older on it. But
I can't wait to see what he prints with it.
Functional though.
That's awesome. But yeah, so then anyway, I guess I'm giving my whole story here, but I started doing all this stuff. I do bike design stuff on the side. I do like mountain bikes and bike parts, and that's why I bought the Ender 3. I was like, you know, it'd be awesome to just prototype some of these to hold them and just get a feel for scale, and because like it's so easy to, you know, get lost in CAD, and so that's why I got this one. And then this whole little adapter thing took off in the last month, and like now I have orders for it, and I can't on my Ender, I can't print enough. I mean, it'd take me 7 months to print them. So I kind of did a mini Kickstarter, and I had and not even a real I'm calling it a quote Kickstarter, but basically a bunch of people gave me a down payment, and it was able to cover building. So I reached out to Luke, because I mean, in all my hassles with my Ender, I kept coming across the guide, kept coming across all of his posts and posting stuff on Facebook, and reached out to him about building some of these for me. And I was like, oh, there's no way he's going to respond to this. This is some random guy, you know? But it's been awesome. It's been absolutely awesome. So now it's been cool, because I'm kind of dipping a toe into the printer farm stuff, because I really enjoy it. And I'd love to turn it into something more than just these little adapters and finding little things, because it's like, man, for what the barrier to entry is so low now.
Low. Yep.
You know,
Well,
and setting stuff up.
Well, with those flex plates or whatever, your wife or kids can basically walk up. We can set the code up so it's at appropriate point to harvest, and they can just pick the plate off, flex it, dump the parts, and put it back on, and
It goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have the SD card with a single file on it, so they can't make a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the idea of setting up like Octoprint and getting them networked and stuff, but that'll be something that's down the line. And like, I just want to get them working and smooth. And it's funny because like my wife can attest to this. I've spent hours trying to get that dumb ender. I say dumb, but I really love it.
Are you printing them like this, or you're printing them like this?
Like that.
Okay. Then you can print at least 2 at a time.
Yeah. Well, I was printing.
Print one, and then it goes down and prints the other one.
So this is a question I'd love to talk to both of you guys about is thoughts about printing like that. So this part, and I won't show it here, but maybe I'll send you guys a picture.
Horizontal clearance so you don't run into the part of it.
And on an Ender 5, you also need to check for vertical clearance.
Yeah.
Since you're going to be extending the bit up through the top of the vertical gantry.
Yeah,
so right. Make sure there's enough room. So that's why I say do 2.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's my question: is that when I first
so basically you do one on the front, and then when the gantry moves back, when it comes up, it doesn't hit it, so you can do one in the back.
Yeah.
Obviously, depending on the depth of your part, I could actually see you getting 3, sort of 1, 2, 3 on there if you want.
Depending on how big it is. Yeah. DeWalt battery.
That being said, the print run time is similar, right? So the only thing you're really going to affect is how frequently your family has.
Yeah,
that's the advantage.
So
you don't have to keep going back to it.
Another advantage to the print in place doing multiples. So if you set it to run 3 and it runs full cycle, the other benefit you get is if one of the second or third ones fail, the first ones aren't lost. Where if you play them all once, you lose all 3, right?
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing, which is I have this assembly that's made up of 4 parts. There's two parts that are larger, that are like the DeWalt side, then the other side is the side that adapts to the bike, and then there's 2 like little lids and like kind of cover plates. I'm now going to have a 5th part that's like a medium-sized part. And I had gone, and originally like I did print one at a time. And then I went and made one sliced file with a whole bunch of support blockers and things that was basically one set, and it would print these 5 parts, and it would take about 10.5 hours. So I could do like 2 a day. And the way I've been doing them is it's like, okay, I can print a set, make it for someone and ship it or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But I've been debating, like I'm part of this is I've been hounding Luke a little bit about my flow settings. I need to go redo a lot of flow check and calibration, because I think that's the culprit on my Ender 3. But I get a lot of like kind of blobbing, or kind of like you can see where the layer ends and then shifts to another part. And so you get these weird artifacts. And then I've been getting, it's like random stringing throughout, where it's like parts of it on this one X little string, and then but it's kind of like I got it dialed in enough to work where the parts are functional, but I know that they could be cleaner, and then I wasn't sure how much of those bad artifacts are due to me trying to print 4 parts in one, and it's switching between parts each layer, versus just
that. Anytime you do that, you're putting a premium on your flow rate adjustment, because if you're in a positive pressure situation where you're over extruding, it bleeds off as it comes off of the one part. So now you got something that's going to get wiped off on the next part. It can also affect your sort of stringing as it moves inner part.
And also
how much flow rate can actually affect stringing itself. Because if you have a positive balance of pressure, you're pressurizing the hot end, right? And once you pressurize it, it has to relieve to an equilibrium, right? So if you have it on a pot, that's part of the reason the manufacturers lean them out so much at the factory, because they know that there's problems with over extrusion, right? That aren't there when it's under extruding. So they'd rather have you under extrude and think everything's great, even though it may not be perfectly matched, just to keep you happy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Are you using Cura or something else?
I've played with Cura. I bought Simplify 3D and then immediately returned it.
Why?
So, well, this is maybe peer pressure. I bought it and I was like, okay, $150, and then everybody's like, hey, it never gets updated. There's no support. And V5 is supposed to come out now, but it's been delayed for a year. And then I need to relearn it. And I'm kind of in this weird mode right now of like, I don't have a ton of time to just learn that stuff.
There's not much to learn. Simplify 3D is so stupidly simple.
Yeah,
really
I'm sure.
I'm sure. By keeping itself, it's simple but robust.
It's reliable and consistent. You're going to be missing some of the little tweaks and features that you see in Cura and Prusa Slicer, but you're going to know what you're going to get every single time you press that button. Like that problem you have with the under extrusion at the start, that's a Cura thing. I still haven't figured out how to fix it. I know you can.
One thing is it's consistent, right? So
exactly.
Even if it has a little micro defect, if you get it in one part, it'll be in every part. So that's with any slicer, right? Like those the air savers that I'm printing right now, there's 2 spots out of a set of 8 or 9 of them where I know that there's going to be one string in that one spot every time because it's doing something different than the whole rest of the print. And I couldn't tell you exactly what it's doing, but that string will be there every freaking time. And it's not because I got a pressure imbalance or anything else. It's just handled it differently for whatever reason. And it's not the end of the world, right? But it was a bigger problem when I was doing, I ended up doing all told about 15,000 of them. And you don't want to be doing a ton of detailing doing that many, right?
No.
So when I make a profile, Simplify 3D, there's maybe 10 settings I have to touch in the whole thing. Maybe.
People like Chris gets this too. They ask us for our profiles, and I'm like, I got a basic default. I mean, honestly, I could just take Simplify and open a fresh instance with nothing else in it, and I know what I want to change, and that's it. I mean, the only thing that I wouldn't normally want to have to set up from scratch is my start and G codes, right? Because those are very particular. But I also keep those in a log file so I can add them anytime I want. But you get down to brass tacks, I mean, these people think that we're hiding out on them for holding back on what's available, right? And we're really not. What Chris and I and some of the other advanced users are really good at is just understanding how the thing works and making it work to its max, right?
Yeah.
I do provide my Cura profiles. I think I sent them to you or whatever. Those are very solid, right? You're not going to have a ton of problems with those. Now you start adding all the extra function that Cura's has, no, I won't guarantee anything.
You introduce all kinds of problems.
That profile, as I give it to you, will generally run pretty solid. It won't be the fastest because it has, I have combing completely turned off, and combing saves time, but combing is basically moving without retraction. But when you do that, now you're bleeding off that pressure, you're depositing material where you don't want it, but it's at a cost of time versus action. Anyhow.
That's interesting.
I get a little excited when we start talking profiles. I don't get to talk profiles with people very often.
Well, I mean, I'm interested in it because I don't know how many times I've asked, oh, hey, send me a profile, and I found a couple guys online that I messaged back and forth with before I reached out to Luke, because I was just battling stringing. So Chris, on these enders that we're building here, we're using a 0.6 nozzle. And that was where my problem was when I went into the larger nozzle size. I'd never really done that, and with this adapter I'm making, it's really, fit and function. Well, I guess I don't know how to say it. Strength and function is more important than like these perfectly.
Not only are they 0.6, but they're 0.6 with that larger thermal mass size.
Nice.
Yeah. So really wanted to make sure that these prints are strong, but like not overly filled, right? Like I'm not going to do 100% infill, but I want the critical parts in the interfaces to be thick walled, and I want them to be as strong as they can. And I don't mind if I have thick layers. Like the ones I've been printing, I've actually been doing in 0.32 and 0.36 layer heights, just to speed up print time. I mean, it's slower printing linearly, but total print
it's volume. Volume determines the total speed. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Which obviously you guys know that. I found that out the hard way. I'm just learning this.
People don't understand how I can print with a 1.2 millimeter nozzle at 30 millimeters per second and print 3 times faster than you. It's because I'm depositing. I'm going half the speed, but I'm depositing 6 times the volume of plastic. So I'm actually going 3 times faster.
Well, right. Anywhere near as big of a secret in commercial. Commercial, they totally look at everything at how much volume of meter per minute, right? That's how they look at it. in Cura,
Yeah.
or I shouldn't say in Cura, in home hobby, people are like, well, what speed can you go in? What flow rate can you go
Right.
in? You know, and part of it is it's really technical when you start looking at that. But like with the Stratasys, if you buy a roll of filament, it's so many cubic meters of filament. It's not even a kilo or whatever
Right.
you
It's
buy
a volume.
that unit, whatever it is. I don't even know. I'd have to go look at the receipts that came with it because there's some material in it. But you understand what I'm saying? It's they just look at it really differently than the
Right.
the residential.
That's because consumers are used to looking at, mass of something,
Mhm.
even to the point where our ounces is used for both volume and mass.
Right.
But it's why I keep trying to tell manufacturers, I don't want to know how heavy your roll is. I want to know how many meters it is,
Mhm.
because
Right.
everything is determined by meters, because it's all by volume. Okay,
Right.
your mass doesn't mean nothing to me. How many meters is it? You say, well, the slicer uses mass. No, it doesn't. The slicer uses meters, and then it converts that into mass for your convenience.
Yeah. Right.
Because your stepper motor
Right.
is turning steps. It's
Right.
not turning
It
grams.
may be off by 4 hours on the print time, but it'll be within grams on the estimated flow,
Mass.
as long as you got
Right.
near size material in there.
Right.
Now, the only
So
thing
anyway,
at
go
point
ahead.
6, you should be fine, but there are retraction issues as you go up in nozzle size, because the
Yes.
cross section of the nozzle is just so large that there are gaps you
Right.
can't easily get rid of. But at point 6,
Right.
you should be fine, as long
Yeah.
as your
So-
perimeters are more than one.
I've been trying to find that happy medium of what's the right, like I tried a 0.8, but it was just kind of like, it was a little bit too much. And
Too
I
low
felt like
res.
it wasn't enough. Yeah, it wasn't necessary, because I do have some fine details in these interface points where I want them to be clean and click in and out well and be functional.
Your interface
Um,
points, the important part, like you have like fingers like this, you need
Yeah.
to make
Well,
absolutely certain
I
you're
didn't have
starting.
to put the bearings on, but there's your filibrace spool holder.
Oh, sweet.
Nice. When you have details like fingers, it's absolutely critical that you make sure your zipper line is never on the fingers.
So,
So
explain.
hang on, let me show you.
So the orange one has its rollers on, so you can see it better.
Oh, cool.
So you know how 3D printing works. 3D printing is a layer. You start, you make a layer, and you stop.
Nice, Luke.
Then
Yeah,
you go up, you start, you make a layer, you stop. That
Yep.
creates a zip line or a zipper line.
Yep.
It is not physically possible to get rid of a zipper line except to use vase mode. So if you do vase mode, you don't have a zipper line because you don't have a start and finish.
Yeah.
So the
That
zip
being
line,
said, extrusion precision can make that line look way less noticeable.
but it's still there.
It's there,
Sure.
You might not be able to see it as well, but it's still there. And the problem is, anywhere you have a zip, anywhere you have a start and stop, you have a weak point. It will always be weak wherever it starts and stops because you have a break in the filament. So when you have a battery like this and you have fingers, you need to make absolutely certain your zipper line is never on the fingers because they'll break.
Gotcha.
So you make
Yeah.
sure your zipper line is back here where it's just cosmetic. So that here
I don't
it's a
know.
continuous extrusion.
This is what I'm building basically.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna. I guess I
Let me
won't
see
show
the
too
other
much
side.
of it.
Let me see the other side.
So
Yeah.
let's see.
So you want your zipper line in there. Flip that around.
Yeah, inside there.
You want it in there because that's not structural. That's just going to be clamping onto a rail. So that's where you want your zipper line.
And then this is the more complex thing that I just added last night, where the low voltage cutoff board is going to sit. It nests inside there. So you can kind of see, I'm holding up I've got the chamfered edges there on the top. So I print like this.
Nice.
And all these little features, I don't need any support in here. And then I make this a chamfered edge. So when I go to put my lid on, I've, then made a chamfered edge there. Oh, that's the wrong side. There, right? But then when it's made it up, you can't really tell it,
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's functional.
Whatever. It's functional. So my issues with it are like on the inside here. I don't know if you can, sorry, it's hard to see in this light. If I go maybe like that, see how there's like that stringy, crap. I'm trying to get rid of that. And then like here on the, if I zoom, let's see, I got to get better light. I'm in a terrible spot. Maybe like that. And then anyway, along like here, there's the blobs. So it's in a lot of like.
That's your zipper line, most likely.
Yeah, so some of them looks like zipper line, and I think it's randomized on Cura right now, and I thought that I had it turned to be on an inside corner.
Well, don't randomize. Randomize will put it in places you might not want it. So you pick the spot where you want it, and you tell it put it there. Yeah,
so I need to do that better. But like I was talking about the thicker layers, like you can see. I don't care that it's got the tessellations, right?
It'll be so much stronger.
Yeah, and it works pretty well. It works really well actually. It's surprising. But I'm just trying to like that inside the strings in there, and so this is some of the stuff where I know I need to tune the flow control on my 3 because I know it can print better than that. But I wasn't sure how much. So right now I have this print where it's got this guy sit there, and then this little lid sits next to it, and then there's another. Let's see if I have it in here.
I don't know what slicer you're using and how it works, but in any slicer, if you look here, is that in focus for you?
It's coming in. There it comes. A little bit. Yeah, there you go.
See all the green dots?
Yeah.
That's your zipper. That's your zit line.
Yeah.
So you can this one here is set for fastest. So it's not putting it in any particular place. It's not random, but it's also not specified. So I can actually tell it to put all those zits in a particular place if I want. So I can define an XY coordinate that's close to where I want it and tell it to put them all there. So let me show you
that
here.
The biggest thing I can tell you in learning to slice well is the preview. People don't use the preview enough.
I've recently really
90% of the times what you're seeing on your part, it'll show you in the preview that it's there.
The preview tells you everything you need to know.
Or whatever. I'm like, go look at the slice. When you sliced it, was it there then? Well, yeah. Well, then it's going to do what it said it's going to do.
Telling you what it's going to do.
Yeah.
It won't deviate from that. I guarantee it. It might get worse, but it ain't getting better.
Yeah.
No.
Right. Let's see.
Man, these things need to be making prints.
Hey, Michael Cassell.
Here. There you go.
Hey,
so,
sweet.
Yeah. So you'll have the PTFE on the pickup or whatever, but it's sort of set up to come off half off the roll, so it'll be midway as it's pulling the material. But
cool.
I like that spool holder. You got to show me where you got that.
Yeah, I think it's called the filler brace. If you go to my collections, the Ender 3 and the Ender 5 collections have it in it. It's like filler brace or I don't know, but I really like this one. And then if you have the really tiny spools, Maurice, the ones that have the 32 millimeters, I have a remake of this part that'll let you use those as well. That's on. You'll have to find that in my personal designs or whatever on Thingiverse. But yeah, it's a pretty slick setup. Only time I have troubles with this is if you get a spool that is massively eccentrically weighted. I've actually had them because it has enough freedom of movement where it sort of overruns.
Yeah.
Like I have.
There's an easy way to fix that.
That did that. So I just took those off and put the standard spools on for that roll because it was just trying to go too fast. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I could scale that up for 5 and 10 kilogram rolls.
Oh, absolutely, you could. This thing is. I haven't had any of them break. I've been using it for a year and a half. They're solid.
Man, 5 and 10 kilogram rolls are a pain in the ass.
Oh,
they're so convenient, but rolling them smoothly. I mean, no matter how much I tune it, I always have the goddamn spool walk itself off the spool holder, and then it's all over the place. It's like, how did you do that? It's like it would drag itself across the table. It's like, how?
Yeah, I'd love to set these up to run a bigger spool,
but I have a Bondtech on my ABS machine down in the cabinet down below here in one of the Creality enclosures. I have a filament guide. I don't have one right close that I can show you, but anyhow, it has a helix in the part where the line goes through, so I can put the filament in and out if I forget it. I can just sort of work it into there and it's in it, right?
Yeah.
Well, for whatever reason, it managed to get itself out of that. Oh no, that wasn't what it was. That part was fine. A spool of filament came off of the roll and got wrapped around the core, around the arm, around the
Yeah.
brace, and it was pulling it hard enough. It was starting to bend the brace because that 3-to-1 gear ratio is so strong on the drive.
I've had printers. I've had spools jam up and it lifts the printer off the table. I come back to a CR10 dangling sideways in the air. It's like, how?
Oh man.
You want to see some ABS porn? So these are the support arms for that.
Wow, nice print, dude.
And anyway, I printed them in their most advantageous orientations or whatever. But those aren't even detailed. I mean, I did take off a little bit of a skirt, but that was it.
Still, that's a clean ABS print.
Yeah. Just running
That's
an
awesome.
Ender 3 and an enclosure. With the bed.
On a 3?
What's that?
You said on an Ender 3?
Yeah, that's from an Ender 3, yeah. With a 0.4 nozzle.
And here's another advantage to putting your zit line all in one spot. It makes cleaning it up super easy. All you gotta do is take a scraper, scoop or two, and go zip, and it's all gone.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. I've had to like kind of file these, and I just want to get them cleaner. You know, like I want them to look like I don't mind the tessellations if it's all uniform.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to learn more about it, and it's like you said, I got to get into the flow. You got to
start. You got to start watching the preview and actually running the preview through its scope, because it'll start showing you, okay, I see it's stopping here and it's jumping to here, and that's causing an artifact. Can I slightly redesign this part to stop it from jumping? You'll be, as an engineer, the way you're talking, you'll be able to see that and go, yeah, I can tweak this one little angle, and now it'll be a complete circuit, and it'll put my zit right back where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is BBR.
Hi, puppy.
Wawa. Her little troublemaker she is. She used to have a lab as a companion, but she passed away.
Oh man, we had a little min pin that passed away at the beginning of this year. It's not fun.
Yeah,
15
it's never
years.
fun when you lose family members.
They're family members. They literally are. You
Yeah,
don't
we
live
got
with
him when he
something for
was
15 years and not be a family member.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm trying to find some parts. I set aside the hardware to do those mounts, and I'm trying to figure out where I put it.
My dog taught me the definition of unconditional love. Little Pekingese Shih Tzu. He was hungry. He whined for some food. I put down some food for him. I turned off the light and I started upstairs. And something made me stop halfway up the stairs. I realized he'd stopped eating. I'm like, he was hungry. Why would he stop eating? I turned the light back on and looked downstairs, and the dog is standing there in front of the food bowl, and he's looking at the food, and he's looking up at me on the stairs, and he's looking at the food, and he's looking up at me on the stairs, and it just broke my freaking heart when I realized that dog was deciding between eating and following me upstairs. So I did the only thing any sane human being could. I planted a chair right next to his bowl and sat there so he could finish eating.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I guess
such a good dog.
I'll mount those when I can find the hardware. I know I have it. I just got to figure out where
it's amazing. We taught them unconditional love, and now we have to relearn it back from them.
Oh man, that's what the world needs right now. I tell you what.
So here's an Ender 5.
No, the world needs to vote for Yum Yum and learn the ETP protocol. That's what we need to do. Go. Eat the goddamn politicians.
Oh, show me there. What do you got there, Luke?
Pets Fang?
Bullseye fan duct and frames for mounting it.
Oh, awesome.
And I made you 2 frames. They don't break often or whatever, but just in case you had a problem, you got 2 frames and 2 ducts. So you got a full repair set if something were to go wrong.
Awesome.
So this is my own custom frame. So you're not that familiar with it, but I set it up here with this open, and I added a hook on the other side. So when you go to put it on, you can literally just drop it down with the preset. I set it up with a preset bolt with the backup jam nut. So the nut will stay set, and you'll just slide it on and off. And so you'll be able to take that whole fan assembly off and on like that. You don't want to, but when you do, you don't want to mess around with it.
save the G
Yeah,
code
that's
for
the
all
truth.
those files on one of the SD cards for him. So if he ever needs to print them, all he has to do is hit print for that G code
I
file.
have 3 files. Each printer has a file of all the prints, and I left him this pre-slice simplified G code too.
This way, if you ever need a part, you
Nice.
just click print and you're done.
Yeah.
I'm hooking him up, but I also get him to get started. So if for some reason went wrong or whatever, he'd be all right.
I'm sure I'll be hassling him more than I should be after we get these going, but
But don't worry too much. Don't worry too much about the cleanliness of the parts. As long as they are functionally intact, that's what's really important.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a glaring problem, sure, fix it. But if it's minor, don't worry about it.
You saw I do beautiful prints without much detail. That being said, if things go wrong, I got a file. I got a sort of a Turbo Torx lighter, and I have other files and other knives to trim, cut, file, and preen to make them look nice too.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to do a whole
Yeah.
video on how I detail parts, because I mean I do quality parts, right? But occasionally, like I don't have time to chase down that last little bit of something in the slice or whatever. I'll just let it run. I'll detail the part. And I think these people that see us with these beautiful pictures of our prints, and of course I'm going to take the most advantage if I can of how my pictures are presented, right? So I'm not going to show the uglies in a glossy light. Right? So I don't think people realize that sometimes you're getting sort of the best of the best when you look at it, right? There's ways to hide character defects if you want, depending on how you present your parts. But they should look decent, though. I mean, I'm not saying that they can be garbage, but not everything comes out pristine every time.
Right.
And here's a little trick with profiles for printers. It's a little, I call it the non-secret secret. People think that there's they always ask me, you got a profile, you got a profile, you got a profile. If you go to my Google Drive, I have a profile for almost every printer I have. I got to re-upload a bunch of them because I cleaned it out at one point in time. But the little secret that people don't realize is that there's no difference between any of the profiles.
Here's some more.
Okay,
how the light hits this or whatever, but
you got the Ender logo on there.
Yeah, they turned out nice. Sorry, it's hard to think back.
Yeah, very nice.
So those are for your SD card reader. So it's got a hole in the top there where the reader will stick out, and then it's got a thing to put your extra SD cards, and then there's clearancing in the bottom
to wrap up the cable.
So you can put your SD cable through it when you're doing the SD connection.
How do you print those? Are those printed vertically like that?
Yeah, so when these printed, let's see, get them in the proper orientation. So they printed this way and this way. So I just print them stood up like that.
Yeah, okay.
But as you can see, I mean, you're going to see layer line stuff. Let me see if I can make the sheen really drive it here on this one.
But who cares?
But anyhow,
no, yeah.
I mean, it looks beautiful. I mean, you can tell it's printed, but there's nothing to be ashamed at in that finish,
I personally think there's a little built-in beauty to the layer lines.
Pro, so that's what you're setting up, right?
But
I'll be right back, you guys. I got to grab my phone's about to die.
Uh-oh. He didn't plug it in. What's that odd thing? Plug it in, plug it in. Glade plug-in.
We'll see if my computer plug-in's enough to keep it alive. I'm not near.
If you have a USB 3 port, use that.
Oh, and for those that are taking notes, the reason for this is so you don't wear out the SD card on your printer itself. These little adapters cost, I think, $6.99 is the average cost.
Mm-hmm.
$7 is way cheaper than $35 or $45 for a new motherboard because you wore out your TF or SD card reader.
Yep.
Introduce this somehow into your system. There's plenty of prints on how to hold them. If you're not that fancy, just use some double-sided tape and stick it somewhere on the printer. But incorporate it. Anyhow, sorry, that was my harp on the SD card.
No, that's good.
I like the fact that they're starting to use full-size SD cards on some machines. It's just, I got tired of dropping the little fuckers.
I hate those things.
I mean, they're great. They're great if you got a drone.
A GoPro.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go, or a drone. Yeah.
But for your printer that you're yanking that damn card out 10 times a day, it's a pain in the ass.
All right, I gotta be careful as I thread the needle here and get all the.
You know, they do make a different style of that has a much easier to fold up and hide away cable.
This one actually has a, I don't know if you can see it. Here, see if we can get the camera to look at it better.
Oh, I see how you're doing that.
A little too far. Okay, so there's a pin board right here. So you can put the cable, the extra cable, most of it right there. And then you have the last little bit, you flip it over and stand it up. But it's actually use zip ties to retain the cable. I just was trying to see if I could do it without the zip ties, but it was not cooperating. And depending on how long you get these, you have more or less of the ribbon cable.
Let me see if I can find the other kind I use. I love that, the other kind. Hang on.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm almost dead.
Because ribbon cable doesn't like, when it's quick, it doesn't like to click, you know what I mean?
I'm almost dead too.
Yeah, my headphones are about to give out too. I might have to go grab some other ones.
All right, you're gonna turn into a pumpkin.
So here, back to the slicer question then. So you guys, do you think it's the Simplify 3D is worth it?
I personally do, but I've been using it for 5 years.
I do, but I'm not spending your money. So. Well, right now I am, but just for a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is well worth it, man. How much time it saved me, and to have machines that are running and not wait. I mean, because like you're gonna troubleshoot this, and you'll be able to know it because you've done it so many times. I would spend hours learning, and not to say
there's
that learning
not much
isn't good.
to troubleshoot in Simplify 3D. There's like a dozen settings.
Oh, sorry.
He's talking
I'm
about
talking about the build
for him and dialing them in. And yeah, there's besides just that. I mean, I didn't even keep track of the hours on the printing just because I was having fun or whatever. But there was a lot of hours of printing just to get all the little
for sure
and widgets and everything together. But it was fun. I took it on expecting it to be sort of a fun project. So.
The ones I use might not be available anymore.
Just remember, you got to be a contortionist to finish this one.
The one I use looks more like a bare circuit board ribbon cable kind of thing, but it's very compact.
There we go. And then you can't really tell, but it actually docks into the side with the second clip. So it's pretty.
That's pretty damn cool, though.
Pretty nice and tidy. It's, you know, you can stick your cable in there, and your card's here, your spares are there. Then you got to get your pile of SD cards, right?
Holy smokes. You got quite a few there.
And anyhow, you get the idea. But I took some, you're getting two 256s and a 512 or whatever. It has all the information for the prints and everything on it.
Oh, cool.
All right, so what's next? I could put the bullseye on, but that means I got to fire it up and heat it up to do the hot end fix and everything. I think I'm pretty close to just calling it for the evening because we got a lot done. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Close to wrapping it up?
That works for me.
I know your
That SD adapter is pretty slick.
I'll get extra brownie points with my wife if I spend another hour with her before I go to bed. So.
Looks like the one I used is not available anymore.
But yeah, they're moving right along. I mean, really, when it comes down to the installation stuff I got left, I have to install the hot end fix. That takes a couple of minutes. I have to put the arms on. That'll actually probably take about half an hour a piece because it's just a pain in the ass to get at the fasteners. The person who designed this, I really wish they'd have put some thought into how it was set up, because they could have set it up with nut retainers for the backing nuts so that they would be stopped, and he didn't. So you have to sit there with a pair of pliers and the thing. And the only reason I use them is the support design is good, right? If I ever get a chance, I'm going to just take them into Fusion and have my way with them, and make them better. I know that I'm known to do that. I had to give the authors credit or whatever, but and this won't be available on Thingiverse until I get permission from Dave Petzel. He and I are friends. He likes to tightly control what goes out for the bullseye stuff. So I'll send it to him, get his approval, and then as long as we get his approval, it'll be on Thingiverse.
Nice.
Anyhow, but you got the first production run.
I like that.
Ben says there's a
Cool.
remix of the net retainer. All right, I'll have to look for that the next time, but those are all printed.
Oops.
I still have a little ABS left, but we put a good dent in the roll. I did I think I did. I don't even usually do it that high. but
Benny Brady says there's already a remix with the nut retainer.
Yeah, I saw that. So, but I know I did at least 30%, if not 40% infill on those, just so they're tough. So between being ABS and that heavy infill or whatever, you park a truck on the bed and it's not gonna deflect much.
ABS is weaker, but it's tougher, so it gives a little bit more. It's also more temperature resistant.
It's sort of weird. It's less likely to break in the fashion that the PLA version of those breaks.
It's kind of like the difference between glass and wood. Yeah. Glass is stronger than wood, but wood is tougher than glass.
Yeah.
Right.
You see what I mean? So if you were to take a 2x4 made of glass, that's going to handle a hell of a lot more force than a wood one will. But when the glass one breaks, it shatters.
Yeah,
while
like
the wood one won't handle as much force, but it'll give more.
We were talking about print orientation, right? So this was printed with the layer lines here. Like, think of it like layers in wood. Its strength is along this axis. So this profile, because it was all printed in slices, that profile is stronger that direction than the horizontal, but that's what you want for this part.
Yeah.
So those are the things you sort of take into slice and stuff.
Yeah. I'll show you what he means by orientation. So if you have
I know,
filament's very strong like this.
Right.
What's not very strong is when two layers are stuck together. So it's not strong this way. So you want the whatever bend force you have, you want it bending along the length of the filament extrusion, not along the layer lines.
It's just like cutting kindling. You try and cut a log.
Grain of wood. Same thing as grain of wood. When you make a fin for a rocket, you got to make sure the
cutting through the flat side, you get it on an end grain where it's cut, ready to split. You hit it on the end grain where you can follow the layers. It splits apart easy, right? Same thing with it.
Yeah, that was part of why I designed these this way. Then the way I did it as well, because where we had like the thin layers for the interface, I didn't want those to like split off and bend, right? And so I've got them split that way. I mean, also it prints that way much easier without support. But I've seen other versions of these you can buy them for pretty cheap on eBay and even on Amazon. But they've got them. They don't have like this adapter part for the bike, but they print them flat, and they must use some supports to do it. But I'm like, you're doing it either way, it's probably not that big of a deal. But
this is like a lot of things. Everybody has their own way of doing it once you get into it, type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And half the time, people do it a certain way, not because it's advantageous or they prefer it, because they didn't know better.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll accuse people, why did you print it that way? And because that's the way it loaded, and they didn't know better.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do the TH3D flex plates on camera or not, because I know people want to watch me pulling brand new magnetic sheets off and everything.
Did you see the print bed on the Everyone Thinker S? They did a nice freaking job on that.
Is that the one that's sort of almost like a cartridge where you can pop it in and out?
No, it's got a flex plate.
Okay.
But they didn't do a flexible magnetic sheet. They built neodymium magnets into the aluminum heat bed, and then the heat bed circuitry is on the top instead of the bottom, because the bottom is where they cut out the openings to put the magnets.
Right.
And then they used 10 by 10 millimeter extrusions to create a box frame under the bed, so that bed is absolutely flat.
It's rock solid, yeah.
That's a fantastic design choice on their part.
Yeah.
So they have a 300 by 300 millimeter bed that is absolutely flat. I mean, there is no deviation in that bed. And it's so stout, it's not going to deviate no matter how much you heat it up.
Yeah. So, anyhow, I think I'm going to roll it up for the evening. Thanks for joining me, gentlemen.
Happy
thanks for all the work.
victims.
Watching this later, watch for another episode or two in the series. I got the rest of the assembly to do. I got to put on TH3D unified firmware, install the filament runout sensors, and a couple other odds and ends things. So there'll be more content. At least another session or two's worth.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. I probably won't be able to join again, but I'm definitely interested to watch what you're doing. And this is a huge learning experience for me too. So I'm
He's
pretty
he's
excited.
messing up my machine.
And if you're concerned about the warranty issue for the bike, it's very simple. You include a piece of paper and a warning with the product. You include giant warning on Thingiverse if you happen to go that way, saying, this may void your warranty. This may destroy your bike. Don't do this unless you know what you're doing. Don't pussyfoot it. This may destroy your bike.
That's right.
Don't come crying to me if you fuck it up.
Yeah, I've already got that in all the email when I send everybody. Hey, it says don't do it. But you can if you want.
Goodbye, the interwebs.
All right. See you guys.
Happy victims.
Yeah.